Hi, welcome back to StoryHive On Location Kelowna. I'm Robb, and we're live in location in Creston, and it is funded and supported by TELUS STORYHIVE. Today we're speaking with the incredibly talented Creston Valley Film Society. We have 4 of the members who also have created a up-and-coming film festival that is the only one I've heard of in the Kootenay region. So we're going to dive into their story, starting off with the mastermind behind it, Richard Reeves.
Hi.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
You too, thanks.
Let's dive into who you are, where you're from, to start off.
Okay. My name is Richard, and I've been living in Creston for maybe 17 or so years or more.
What initially got you into film, and that led to starting the Film Society within Creston?
Yeah, it's a bit of a convoluted story, but I started working in film actually in high school in the 70s. Well, we had a darkroom in our high school, but it was not motion picture. And so it wasn't until later into the mid 80s, I started with Quick Draw Animation Society in Calgary. I was living in Canmore at the time and driving back and forth. But so from there I took courses and workshops and things, and then just continued into it and kept going for all these years later.
What got you to want to start the festival? What was the initial point that you and your mind with the team said that we want to create something in the region?
Back in, I think it was 2019, there was the formation of it was at the time called the Kootenay Film Society. There was people like Mark Wolf and Carrie and Bonnie Geddes from our theater, Allison Masters, Gary Dethridge, and Rick Brown, and an author you might have heard of, Luann Armstrong. And so, we were meeting to form. We thought, we should create a platform for showing our own work as well as all the local people as well. So we formed the first festival in 2019. We had a venue. It was called The Venue, which was like this abandoned church, or it was anyway. So Rick Brown bought it. And we hosted the first festival out of there. It was completely, it's 90% local work. We really reached out to all the community we could find, and friends of friends who knew somebody who had made a film, and brought all these people in. We borrowed archival movies from the museum in Creston. We had musicians play live music to these, their movies anyway that they have in the archives there, farming and just different kind of things going on. It was kind of wild. We even had a VR component back at that time. There was downtown a VR place you could go rent the headsets, and they offered, if your ticket, you could get a free. We had one VR film that was made, it was pretty wild. We had feature films playing at the Tivoli Theater and short films playing at the venue, sometimes at the same time. So it was pretty wild. And from that, we thought it was successful and that we should run a second year. So the second year, we decided also to use Film Freeway, because we actually sort of saturated our locals. They didn't produce enough work for the next year to have that many shown. So we ran Film Freeway for the first time. Then it was also COVID. So around the world, all the festivals are shutting down, and we decided to keep ours going by following the protocol. And the protocol was outdoor events were permitted, a maximum of 50 people. So then instead of having just one festival, we had 4 to sort of not bunch it up a little bit, and we could get more people out. One of our screenings was it's where there's an art gallery, but they have a parking lot. It's like a gravel pit. We had an inflatable screen. We had the protocol, everyone's sitting 6 feet apart in the chairs and sanitizing and signing a release form, and it was crazy. And the funny thing was a windstorm came, And everyone just stayed there, and the screen is folding in half, and the images look really surreal, and dust beams, in the projector. But we had another one at a vineyard, outdoor screening at a vineyard, and then later on, by the fall, we were permitted to do indoor events. Same thing, so we used the Tivoli Theater, and Bonnie had marked every second row where nobody could sit. It's still strange, really weird environment for screening. So yes, that was good. We got through that. And we were getting emails from some of the international people saying, kudos to you guys running a film fest during a lockdown.
So I can imagine that wasn't easy for anybody on the team.
No, and we were worried, especially at the vineyard. I think we had more people than we should have, and it got a little crowded, and we thought we were going to all end up in jail at some point, but it never actually happened, so that was good. But from there, after 2021 and things, we kept the Film Freeway submission open. We scaled back a little on, we used the Tivoli Theater downtown, and the high school has a beautiful theater where they have lights and screens and beautiful seating and stuff in there too. So those are, to this day, our two main venues. So we run the festival 2 nights pretty much. And this year, actually, we just yesterday, our submissions closed, and we've got about 1,400 films for this year's film jury to go through. So it keeps us entertained through the summer watching all these films.
Wow.
And trying to pick out what we can do. And then also giving our locals time to create something or submit at a later date for them.
Okay. Let's start with where you were from and how you got into film and the industry as well.
Okay, well, I'm originally from Chicago, and then I married a Canadian, moved here, and I lived in the Lower Mainland for many years until we retired, and then 3 years, I think 2022, where I came to... we moved to Creston, and actually I'm an actress, and I thought, oh, well, I'm done filming. And then I come here, and actually on the house hunting is when I met these guys. They were doing the kids festival, and they were doing animation. And by the way, Richard is he's
being way humble.
He's so humble. He is an internationally renowned animator, and who has won huge
I can't wait
awards.
to dive into that too as well.
Yes. So anyhow, they were putting on for the kids, and I, of course, got involved, and my daughter got involved, a little animation workshop at this kids festival, and that's how I met them all. And actually, it was a big reason also to move to Creston, because there's so many creative people here. And so right away, when we did move, I got involved with these guys, and that's what's happened.
So within the Film Society, what part do you help with casting, or do you help with what is your role?
We just help out. I mean, I think we all just spread out the roles, whatever needs to be done, and all.
Love that.
I do a lot of publicity, I think, and on the first film festival that I was involved with, I kind of did the opening night hoopla. We made and that was Allison Masters' idea, is to make it like a red carpet event to open up the film festival. And so, we got all the I was a movie star, and we had the paparazzi and the crazy fans and the other old movie stars, in front of the theater. And we had a red carpet. I had a chauffeur bringing me in, and bodyguards. So we made it a big hoopla. So we try to make the opening night of our film festival, something unique every year and fun. Creston is amazing with how many filmmakers and how many creative people there, how many writers, filmmakers, also artists, all sorts of people are here, and there's a lot happening here of very, very, very high quality.
We'll go down to Marty because he's the technical backbone. So he's the brainchild for the techno aspects. Where did you start off, and how did you get into film?
Okay, probably the background, the technical part is from being 37 years of telephone tech.
Okay.
So I worked for TELUS.
Nice.
So I have TELUS. And then I came here as a lineman in '94, so I've been here like 30 somewhat years in Creston.
Oh, wow.
So after I retired when I was 55, because I started when I was 18 years old, so took up flying a drone because I wanted a flying tripod. I love taking pictures. The tripod was restricted to the ground, and I wanted it to go over there so I can get a picture of a waterfall from out there. So and that turned into making movies because Mark and Carrie got a hold of me, and we started doing documentaries like the one at the north end of the Slocan Lake, which took like 3-4 years before we had to dig deeper. Snip Nip or something it's called. That's making its rounds. Mm-hmm. So doing lots of work with Mark and Carrie in the movie business. So we've got the 3 feature films pretty much in the bag. The Orchard, Exophoria, and now Dysphoria. Len is my therapist in the Luna film, but just making the film freeway circuit right now. And I did a short Roadkill just for fun. And this is mostly for the... Actually, it was Mark and Carrie again, because they asked me to go in their place to the Kimberley Horror Fest in Kimberley. So they have a fun little film festival there where they have a big party and like dance and food and
At
show
Halloween
films.
time, right?
Just around Halloween, just after. So that turned out to be fun, because I was like, these guys are making fun horror with some humor in it, right? And just enough humor to make it fun. So these films that I've been making, it was like, with that in mind, and then just having fun with having people come help and learning how to do it. Because it's a big learning curve. Mm-hmm. And the film festival, like Mark and Carrie again, pulled me into that with Richard and Allison and them about 5 years ago, probably. So this is our 8th year for the 7th sighting coming up. So, it's been a fun journey.
It's pretty mind-blowing that you guys have managed to keep it continuously going for 8 years, even through the pandemic, through everything else with the changing industry as it is. Because the BC film industry itself is blown up so much in the past 5-6 years alone. Whether it's independent film or major films, like I was saying, because Kelowna, you have 2 major productions at all times going now. Mm-hmm. All you see is circus and set signs everywhere. And it's for me, like I started my career in film as a background actor. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was like, that's what I was used to. And then seeing how the films are produced, the cameras are built, you got the grips, you've got the team that goes behind the film. People don't even realize when they're watching the movie that you have like a 200-man crew that is putting that together. I want to dive into Vivian's a little bit because she does experimental films, and this is something that I've wanted to dive in because you're the one who initially got us chatting. And let's start off with the same question: is where you're from and how you got into film.
Okay, so originally I'm from Calgary, and how I got into film was because I took a course at Quick Draw Animation, which is on film filmmaking, and I'm an artist, so that just was quite up my alley. You know, another form of art making, and I really love to learn how things are made. So I did that for a little while, along with painting and sculpture. But you know, my real passion is sculpture. But anyways, that's film's always there. And like you, then I became involved in background work in Calgary. So I was an unfortunate son in quite a few different films and as a background. And I really enjoyed the background acting because of the stuff you see behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And I loved the props guys. You know, they just amazed me. You know, how they make fire from ice. You know, the what's that? The ice that evaporates. Dry ice. Sorry. Okay, I have dementia. Right? No. Anyway, from dry ice and all these different things and sounds and stuff. And you know, you got to dress up, but you didn't have to learn the line because I probably couldn't memorize a line if my life counted on it. And just sort of as a contributing role, I really enjoyed that. Some of them were really, really fun. And you got to meet people. I mean, you're tucked away until you're called, but you get to meet all these different people, and they're really quite creative in what they're up to, and it was great. And then I did the Quick Draw animation courses, 35 years ago, and then we moved here, and a friend of mine told me about Richard, who's the on film animation god, I think. And so it was like, oh boy, here we go, right? And so I did I kept some of my old footage from the courses that I took, and I dragged it out and I showed it to Richard. And then I attended one of his stop animation workshops and created a couple little things. I don't know how to use a camera. Don't tell me. But I'm using my cell phone or a tablet, and I'm making these things, and I joined the society and submitted a couple of things. I was sort of dabbling with, there's so many aspects of film. It's, what part do I really like? What should I focus on? I don't know. So I experimented. So I played around with animation, stop animation, and I am actually starting a on-film animation. I've got so much film that I bought that I need to start doing some stuff with it. And then I applied for a grant, and I got the StoryHive grant, which is interviewing senior artists in the area, which again is up my alley. I get to speak with fellow artists, and I get to learn something. So I'm one of those curious people that I want to know how that works. And I don't have the biggest team for my StoryHive production. I had people lined up, and then anyways, it's just, people move on, whatever. And so I'm doing most of it all by myself, and the learning curve has been absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I've already put over 280 hours into doing these. They're finished, and I'm just submitting them now. They're all done. They're the way they are, but it was stressful, and I learned so much about filmmaking, and I have such an appreciation for filmmakers from all angles. And wow, that's all I can say. I just, I understand that it really takes a team to make something happen. And at the same time, being an artist, I need to go into the cave and do my own thing, because that's where the ideas come from. But yeah, I'm so happy to be a part of this team, to meet the people that I've met. It's just been a super pleasure.
What is, do you think, your key message as the group versus,
That it can be done.
yeah, like in your vision, what are you guys aiming for at the end of the day?
So one thing I would like to add is that the Seventh Siding Film Festival is very culturally diverse. People from all over the world will submit to the festival, and then we each watch and select. But the diversity that you can bring to a small community who may not have access to seeing or understanding human nature or whatever is really invaluable. So some of them, may tell a story and you're like, oh my God, but it opens your eyes to things that go on around the world. And some of them are super off the wall, but I think it opens people's minds, and it does help appreciation. And maybe we're all human beings, all sharing this planet Earth, and stuff happens, but here we are, and we're sharing this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think more than ever, we need these film festivals that are international, because we need to understand each other, because the world is just going crazy, and we're not listening to each other, and we're not understanding, and we're so set in our ways. And the film festivals, these international film festivals are giving us understanding. They're giving us humanity. And so to me, it is super, super important.
Up to the date, what's been one of your guys' most proud moments through building the festivals and becoming...
Full house. Having 2 full houses at the Tivoli in a row, like 2 years in a row, that's an achievement.
That is actually...
Yeah, and we got a struggling retro theater here in Creston.
Is that the one with the spinning? The spinning.
Yeah,
we were we saw that yesterday when we were grabbing dinner, and it is beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place.
I'm jealous. I'm like, they have a theater, and we've just got a box with screens.
Yeah, and they're holding on. I mean, because Bonnie's got to bring in these Disney movies and other full-length stuff that require almost 2 weeks of showing. Creston doesn't, so she's put her elbows up and made it. It's like, okay, we'll show it for a week. So she has features for a week long. Sometimes if they're really popular, then they'll go 2 weeks. But when we had the film festival and we pull maybe 8 empty seats in the house, and they're just like, wow, this is great. They love it. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you go to the movie and there's 20 people in the theater.
If.
Right? Yeah. So, no, it's a great thing. And they're really supportive of having festivals.
While your career has evolved and animating with film and doing videos, has it been a hard transition to move into modern technology with wanting to continue that feel, and that authentic feel as a filmmaker and animator?
Not really.
Has it become easier? Has it made your life a lot easier?
Retro.
It's odd because, I started with film when that's all there was. And I remember VHS tapes were the kind of video cameras back in those days. And that was considered a modern thing, right?
Because editing, I never got to edit on any of that. I never, when I started working with cameras when I was 11 or 12, it was just at the age where they went digital. So you plugged them into the computer. So you didn't have that ability to the VHS editing. That is one thing I've always wondered, is how difficult was that?
Yeah.
Versus now where it's digital, right? That's even animation though, itself is very difficult.
More and more digitized.
Just to give them a short of how you do your film.
Well, my own film that I got interested in was, I think back in around 1990 or so. I tried drawing directly on film, like a piece of blank film, and then you take ink and draw right on it. And then the first one I made actually was more of a test, really, to see what sticks to the film and what falls off when it goes through the projector. And but it worked out. And then I put a jazz soundtrack to it. I just watched a VHS tape of the film and made a soundtrack while I'm watching it live, kind of. And then people, this was again back at QuickDraw. They said we had critiques. We would critique each other's work once a month or so. And some people were saying, you know, the film's kind of interesting, but there's shapes, for example, that are colliding, and there's no sound when those two shapes collide. It was really abstract imagery. And so then I thought, well, Norman McLaren from the National Film Board back in those days and Evelyn Lambert were working on films in the 30s and 40s that they actually drew sound onto the film. So I thought, you know, that actually makes sense, because then what you can do is draw the picture and draw the sound and put the two together. And so I made another film then right after, and where it was the first one on 35 millimeter film, where sound and picture were on the same piece of film, and it was all synchronized. It's called Zigzag. It's only a minute, but then after that, I never went back. I just kept going. Eventually, you know, I started to work at QuickDraw as their film production coordinator, and through the 90s, about 8 years I spent there, helping other people with their projects. And my part was always film, and then there was a digital production coordinator. His part was helping with new digital technology coming out. And they were saying to me in the early 90s, you have to learn digital because film's going away, right? And well, here it is, like, you know, over 30 years later, I'm still using 35, 16, and Super 8 film. I've learned the digital. I know all the Photoshop suite for sound and editing digitally and all this, right? It's in my head, but when it comes to my own work, I go back to the light table and roll out 100 feet of film and draw right on it. And yeah, still kind of doing that sort of thing. What I've noticed, like, though, like, so film is still here. And Kodak has made some of the film now more archival than it ever used to be. But what I do notice is the delivery. So when you finish your film, you know, years ago, you would send a 35 mil print to a festival if you got into it. And that is expensive, like, you know, and they didn't give you much notice that your film got in. So it's like FedEx, the film overnight, and it would be $80, $120, you know, all the time, right? And the festival would send it back for free, or if you knew, they would send it to another festival for you for free. So I had to get a map of the world, because back then, actually, there wasn't so many festivals, and people weren't producing so much work because it was not accessible for a lot of people, and myself included. I didn't live somewhere where I had access to a movie camera with film until those mid-'80s, and back in those kind of formative years where I started working on the film, motion picture film. So then, so then digital came along, and with the cell phones, so now it's more accessible than ever. So festivals are seeing, you know, like, instead of, you know, a few hundred entries to, you know, some of them like 3,000 entries for some festivals. So, and the delivery format. So now you don't need to, even though I still work on film, and I only get I get about 2 release prints made, one for archives and one that I could send out if somebody wanted it. But more and more festivals nowadays are going digital. So they just want a digital file. So it's actually, in some ways, cool, because you just upload it to a server and they download it. So you don't need FedEx or Canada Post, you know, and those expensive bills. And they get, you know, I get my films scanned at super high res, and I really can't tell the difference, because most of mine are abstract and being drawn on film. It's all scratched anyway. I can't tell if I'm seeing, you know, is it live or Memorex sort of thing, right? It looks like film, but I know really it's a digital file. Even our own theater here has gone totally digital now. They don't have, just recently in the last few years, they used to have 35 mil projection, but they've gone digital. So so that part's kind of interesting, where in the end, so then some festivals that would only accept film now are saying, as long as your film was originally produced on film, you can enter it in the festival, even though they are going to project a digital file. So that kind of sort of...
That's kind of a weird transition, hey?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Being able to go to festivals and is part of the reason why I thought it would be cool if we had something here for the locals to inspire and to just let people see what's going on out in the world in a different realm than we would normally see on television or whatever. Yeah, I was forgetting too that the name Seventh Sighting.
Yes, I was going to ask, where does it come from?
Yeah, so Luann Armstrong, she's a local author here, and she was at our first meetings when we were thinking of a festival name and suggested, everyone came with all these suggestions, and hers really shone through because it was Seventh Siding. And she explained that before Creston was called Creston, it was just a railroad siding, and it was called the Seventh Siding. I guess 7 sidings from Cranbrook or something, I don't know, but yeah, so...
I love that. So it's tied in with the actual history.
Yeah.
And our logo, you see the
Sort of train tracks in
train
a way
and
like
the,
film.
granary and
That's a really well
the
done
Tivoli.
visual image.
Yeah, that was Alison Masters. She's a local painter, and yeah, so she designed the poster, and then we've just kept it ever since. It's like that's such a statement the way it's done with the Tivoli Theater, and yeah, the Tivoli goes back to the 1930s.
But I think there's an importance of having people gather in a theater, and then the film festivals. One of the things the film festival does is you gather in a theater and then you talk about the films, and then like we're lucky, right? We've got our little theater, and then you walk across the street and you have our restaurants that we gather in and we talk about films. And that's a big thing to me that's missing that I hope want to get back. I have a film club that we've created. I've done play readings. And those are so that we start gathering. We're getting very secluded in our lives. We're watching our films, we're watching whatever in our own homes. And then we're not having those conversations. And because we can stream it, right, we're not all watching it at the same time. Right? It's not like it used to be like, oh, you saw so-and-so, and then you can talk about it, even if you've watched it individually. But that's not happening. So that's a real plus that the film festival brings that I think is extremely important. And I think that's one of our goals as the Film Society is to get that love of film in all aspects, in making it, in watching it, in discussing it, in exploring it, and I that's a big thing.
It's true. I think you make a very valid point, is that we're not gathering anymore. There's a lack of gathering in all communities in the world right now, and I think that's inevitably going to be the biggest detriment to us as creatives, is secluding ourselves from other creative people, because when we have 5-6 minds all creative in the room right now, and I guarantee there's ideas firing and everybody's got a different inspired motive right now. So that's how you progress art and make it thrive, is by inspiring. So I have a question. I have 2 questions that I usually ask everyone, and because there's 4 of you, we're going to have to pass it down the line, but because each one of you has a different perspective within the industry. So we'll start with Richard. If you had one thing that you could change in the industry, what do you think it would be?
Well, I do find with experimental animation or an experimental film in general that it's, I wouldn't say underappreciated, but it's not really an upfront sort of thing. It's always been a bit of a sideline. I've been to festivals where I might be the only experimental person, kind of feel like a freak, but there it is, right? And so I don't know. Other than that, I don't know. I think that people learn it in school, and a lot of commercials and things will actually take ideas from experimental film to include in how they might present, a chocolate bar or something on TV. But yeah, it's and it's inspired special effects and things like that too, right? But it's not really such a mainstream thing, and maybe that's just fine. Like, I've come to accept that sort of thing, The other thing is the platform for short film is not very good yet. It's getting better. Things, for example, like film festivals are finally starting to pay artist fees, which never used to happen. And it's slow, but it is happening where you there's a thing called Carfac, when they have suggested rates for all different artist things, and that's getting better. But there is no real a TV station dedicated to short film or something, and even movie theaters used to show shorts before the feature, and most don't anymore. They show commercials. And so that could be maybe a change, I suppose, that I would like to see.
Lynn, if you could change anything, or if you have any advice, we'll make it a little easier, because we'll merge the two questions to make life easier. If there's any advice or anything you could change from your perspective in the industry, what would it be?
Well, when I was thinking of that, so the thing that brought me out when I was a young actress in Chicago, and I couldn't stand, was the competition, right? So I'm a collaborator. I love collaboration. I love working with these people and collaborating. And luckily here in Creston, that's what it's about. It's all about collaboration. And so that's wonderful. In the bigger areas, it's so much isn't. It's a lot about competition, and so that's what I just would like to see more of. We have it here, and I think we're here. The Creston Valley Film Society is here to enhance, encourage that. We want to get everybody who has a dream, an idea, a thought, an aspiration of doing any part of storytelling or filming, that we want to support that. And so, yeah, it would be lovely if the whole world was more like that, and that we continue to be like that, that we don't stop in that. And so, yeah, the advice too is to me to collaborate. I know, as an artist, like Vivian, you're solo, right? And so it's really cool that Vivian is moving from her solo mind to realize to filmmaking is not solo. Mm-hmm. It is so not solo. You have to depend on everybody else. You have to depend on each other, and that's a really, to me, that's really cool. That's who I am. That's what I like. But it's not easy, right? I'm sure, to go from being the solo controller to doing that. But, but it's neat that somebody like Vivian jumps in, dives in, and does something like that. Because we need those minds, too. And anyhow.
No, it's true. It is very true. What about you, Marty? What would, as the technical backbone, but also the creative visionary and writer and filmmaker as well, what advice would you give to an aspiring?
Just do it. That would be the advice. Just do it. But yeah, and with the Film Society, and my part, and all of our parts, is to make that easier for people just to do it. Just grab a camera, anything, do it, get out there and try to, I guess what I was thinking is the Kootenays is a new emerging area for BC, for Hollywood North. And the Hollywood North and Hollywood is kind of a closed book. And we're hopefully opening that book. That's what I wish, that we could open it up, make the Kootenays more accessible, easier for filmmakers, easier for crews or anybody to be involved in the film industry, and not have it just that one group. We don't really. We love to see a big group come and bring their money and production, but we also love to see them and keep us involved in it as well.
Vivian. Same
The
question.
quiet one. The introvert. Wow. I agree with Marty in that just do it. Get out there and try it and do it. I think that is what draws me to the film, is because I'm a curious person. I need to know how things are done. And you just go and do it. Yeah, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, or it may not be great or anything, but it is your expression. Like, you know, that's the other thing I like about this form of art as well, is that what I make will be completely different from, you know, there's no way you're going to copy anybody. There's absolutely, it's just original. Yeah, and wow. And I think I like the idea with the short films is you can pack a lot of ideas in a short period of time. And, you know, wow. It takes a certain level of open-mindedness to look at everything and not judge them, but to take them for the story that they're sharing, to appreciate it. You know, it might be the story itself, or it could be the art of it as well. So I do like the visual, artistic narrative of things, and I just, you know, I think if I had to tell anybody, just have an open mind and enjoy it.
Fair enough. I want to thank you guys for your stories and your time. It's been an incredibly inspiring story just to hear each individual aspect, but to see what you're doing for the region and the next generation of filmmakers and actors and animators. There'll be a QR code on the bottom of the screen, probably that side, that you can scan, and it'll take you to a form that you'll fill out, and you can sit and do an interview with us just like Vivian did. So I want to thank you guys once again. I'm Robb O'Day, and this has been Story Hive on Location Kelowna. We'll catch you next time.